Hi and welcome to today's session. So today we're going to be doing our body conditioning Pilates. We're going to need a mat, we're going to need some cushions or some blocks, whichever you have got, and we're going to need one of those nice stretchy Dynabands. So obviously we're going to make sure that we're working in a pain-free range of motion. We're going to work with what you can manage for today's session. Obviously if you've got any backs, necks or knee injuries, just again work with what you're able to do. So if you have a device that you can track your exercise on, then please just get it to go. And then we're going to start with a nice standing warm-up. So first of all, we're going to have those feet nice and parallel. I want you to lift up out of that rib cage for me. I want you to take the arms down to the side. I want you to lift up nice and tall. And we're just going to start by taking a nice big deep breath in. As we breathe out, we're going to glide your shoulders up towards your ears, and then we're going to breathe out and lower it down. So we want to make sure those feet stay nice and parallel, keeping that length through that body, and keeping that gap between the chin and the chest. Want to keep those abdominals nice and connected for me, and keeping that length through that body. We want to keep those tummy muscles nice and drawn in, but we don't want to over pull them in that we change the angle of the spine. Let's keep that body nice and long, nice and lengthened. Let's think about that gap between the ears and the shoulders, keeping that body as strong and as connected as we possibly can. Let's keep that width across that body. Beautiful. We're going to do this just 3 more times for 3 and 2 and 1. Excellent. So we're going to have those arms down by the side. We're going to lift up nice and tall. We're going to breathe out. We're going to reach those arms all the way up to the ceiling. We're going to breathe out. We're going to bring the arms down. So we want to create that resistance with the arms as we raise the arms up to the ceiling, keeping that body nice and lengthened. Let's think about that gap between the chin and the chest. Think about that space between the ears and those shoulders, and keeping that head and that neck nice and long. That's it, brilliant. So you want to think about that space between the rib and the hips, keeping it nice and connected. That's it, lovely. So you want to keep that length through that body, keeping that chest nice and open. And 1 more time. Brilliant. So we have those arms down to the side, so we're going to keep that chest nice and open. So palms go to the back. We're going to open up from the shoulders, so those palms come to the front, and then we're going to take it behind. And then we're going up to the front, and then behind. Lovely. Let's keep that gap between the chin and the chest. We want to keep that weight nice and equal between the right foot and the left foot. So in other words, we don't want to shift that weight transference over onto one side. Keeping the arms nice and long, nice and open. Brilliant. So you want to keep that bottom of the rib cage sat over the top of the pelvis. Keep that head and that neck nice and lifted. Okay, it's really easy starting to look down at devices, but do try and remember to keep that head nice and up. That's it, fantastic. So we're going to keep that body nice and open. And we've got another 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. Brilliant. So have those arms down to the side for me. We want to keep that space between the rib and the hip. We're going to reach that arm down towards the knee, and then we're going to draw it back up. So we're going to work on that lateral flexion. So you want to imagine that your body is sandwiched together between 2 sheets of glass. Keeping that length through that body and keeping that body nice and long. So we want to try and get that focus on lifting out of that hip joint for me. That's it, fabulous. So again, remember, any time if you need to get a drink, do so. Obviously, if you get a bit warm, then open a window or a door for ventilation. And obviously, if you've got lots of different layers on as you warm up, then just take a layer off. Now, if your backs are stiff this morning, I want you to stick with this option, yeah? If they're not, we're going to reach the arm up to the ceiling. We're going to reach it up and over, and then we're going to come back to centre, bring that arm down. So again, just be mindful of any light fittings or anything like so, would be brilliant. So let's keep that chest lifted. Let's keep those abdominals nice and connected, and let's keep that length through that body. So we want to open up through those shoulders, keep it nice and strong for me, and keep that gap between the ears and the shoulders. Brilliant. So we want to get that nice big focus. Find that space between the rib and the hip for me. Keep that length through that body. Brilliant. So we want to keep that width across that body for me. Keep those abdominals nice and connected. Keeping that length through that spine. Brilliant. So we're just going to do that 2 more times on each side. And 1 more. Brilliant. And just finish it off. Fantastic. Right, so we want to just reset that body position, okay, to make sure that we haven't got into any naughty habits. So let's start from the bottom, feet nice and parallel, knees are soft. Pubic bone drawing down, tailbone drawing down. Rib cage is over the top of the pelvis. Let's grow nice and tall. We're going to reach those arms out in front. And we're going to circle through those arms. So we want the arms to be the size of a large plate, or maybe a platter if that's bigger. It depends on how good you are at doing your arm circles and keeping to the size of a decent large plate. It's fine if it goes a little bit wider, it's not a problem. Let's keep that length through that body. And we want to go clockwise and anti-clockwise. So you want to remember to take that nice big deep breath in and a big deep breath out. So again, just getting movement into those shoulders. And through. I want to keep that length through that body for me, and keeping that gap between the chin and the chest. Keeping that body nice and open. Brilliant. And we're going to do just 2 more repetitions. And last one. Awesome. Right, give those arms a shake. Right, we're going to do that same principle now with our leg circles. So you can do this exercise with a band. So grab yourself your band, okay. Now what we're going to do with the band, okay, probably a little bit more of a close up here. So we are going to have the band around that foot, okay. So you just put that foot on top of the band. Right, if your balance isn't very good, okay, I would suggest you hold on to something. If you're going to hold on to something, make sure that it's not going to fall on top of you. So if you're using a chair, make sure the chair is nice and secure, okay? Or just hold on to a windowsill. So we're going to take that leg around in that nice circular action, and then we're going to go back round the other way. So we want to keep that length through that body. Let's keep that gap between the chin and the chest. We want to keep that head up nice and tall. So think about that width across that body for me. That's it, lovely. Keeping those tummy muscles nice and engaged. And again, one side will be easier on your balance, so don't worry. If you're having a bad balance day, that's okay, doesn't matter. We want to keep that chest nice and open. Keep it So you're going to get that strength training on the leg that you're standing on, and the leg that you're circling on is the leg that you're going to mobilise. And last repetition. Brilliant. Right, team, we're going to swap those legs over. So that was your good side. Fabulous. This might be the good side, who knows? Let's find out. So take that band across the body. We're going to circle through that leg, keeping those abdominals nice and connected, and keeping that width across that body. Keeping that chest nice and open. Ooh. So again, one side is usually just that little bit easier. So again, that can be dependent on balance. Have you sprained your ankle in the past? Again, that or twisted your knee. Anything like that will affect the ability to keep our balance. Keeping that chest nice and lifted. Again, watching out that you can't wrap your toes around anything or your heels. Super important. And last repetition. Brilliant. So we're still going to stay with the band, but we're going to work our triceps back to those arms. So we're going to place that band down onto the floor, and we're going to have those 2 feet onto the band, okay? So we want to keep that chest nice and open. So just remember, the more band you have in front of you, the harder it will be, so that will increase the resistance. The less band in front of you, the easier it will be, okay? So first of all, let's make sure the bottom of the rib cage is over the top of the pelvis. Check your lighting area that you're not going to wrap your hands around any light fittings. We're going to reach the arm up to the ceiling, and then we're going to take it all the way down behind the back of the head. So we're going to reach it all the way up and down. So let's keep that head and that neck nice and long for me. Let's keep that gap between the chin and the chest, keeping those shoulders nice and relaxed. So try and not get tension around your shoulder and neck area. That's it, lovely. Keeping that body nice and connected. So think about these tummy muscles. Lovely. And we've got 2 more. And 1 more. Brilliant. So we're going to switch those arms over. Let's keep that length through that body. Let's keep those tummy muscles in. Lovely. So you want to keep that rib cage over the pelvis. Keep that body nice and long and lengthened. 4 more to go. For 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lovely, so let's pop that band down. So don't just step off, always come off nice and carefully. Pop that band down to the floor. So the next phase of the movement pattern we're going to do is we're going to work through some series of squats. So we're going to start off with our squats with mobility. So first of all, you need to make sure that you're not going to bash your head on anything, because that would not be very good. And also it'll give you a headache as well, which again isn't a good start to the day or the end of the day, depending on where you're doing your workout. So first of all, let's have those feet so they're nice and parallel. So take the feet then a fraction wider apart, so they're more towards the outside edge of your pelvis width apart. We're going to take a nice deep breath in. We're going to breathe out. We're going to lengthen down through this body, keep that body nice and long. We're going to drop that head down, so we're going to have those knees nice and bent. We're going to roll up vertebrae by vertebrae, lifting up nice and slowly. So if you have lower blood pressure, okay, that when you come from a low position to a high position, you feel a little bit dizzy, then just do this action, but very, very slowly. So it's about having that level of control. It's not bolting up, okay, and it's not coming up super fast. Okay, so again, if you have any inner ear issues, okay, again, anything that when you drop your head down you feel dizzy, then you just do that action of the squat action. Don't worry about doing the mobilization part, just focus on the squat on the way up and squat on the way down. So we're going to keep that width across that body, keep those shoulders drawing back, keeping that length through, and trying to create space in between those vertebrae as we come up. So it's really important to keep ourselves nice and mobile, nice and agile. So think about keeping those toes nice and separated. I know it's a little bit trickier when we've got our socks on at the moment. Keeping that body nice and strong. Lifting up nice and tall as we go. Keeping that body nice and long. And we've got another 3 to go. Two. And just one more. Wonderful. Brilliant. So we're going to come back to that standing upright position. So we want to keep that rib cage over the pelvis for me. So let's reset our body. So rib cage over the pelvis. Make sure those feet are nice and parallel. So we're going to bring those hands in line with those shoulders. We're then going to turn your palms towards you. We're going to get that nice big rotation and then back to center. And then we're going to rotate back to center, lovely. And then we're going to rotate back to center. So we're going to keep that width across that body for me, keeping that gap between the chin and the chest, keeping that head and that neck nice and long. So keep that width across that body. Lovely. And we've got one more repetition. Brilliant, right, give those arms a good old shake. Right, we're going to get a focus on hip hinging now. So this is really good for creating a space between the bottom of the rib and the hip. It's great for strengthening our legs on our hamstrings at the back and our bottoms, okay? And it's a really good action to really get that movement going as a hip hinge rather than curling that spine up. So super important. So I'm going to do this from the side so you can get that real focus on what I am doing. So we're going to have those feet now directly underneath the hips. We're going to do a check that we're not going to bash our heads. So first of all, I want you to think from your tailbone to the back of your head. We want to keep that length in that spine. We want to keep those knees nice and open. So if you have your hand at the back of the base of your spine and the hand either on your forehead is always works quite well. So we're going to take a nice big bow. So we're going to hinge at those hips, keep the knees soft. So you want to come down so that your shoulder is in line with that hip. Keep that width across that body. And then we're going to draw all the way back up to that nice neutral position. So we're going to keep that width across that body for me. Keep those tummy muscles in nice and tight. Keep those shoulders nice and open. So we're going to get that nice hinge here. And then we're going to lift up, keeping those feet nice and connected. So keep those knees soft, contract the abdominals, take a bow. Really think about keeping that tailbone going back towards the wall. Knees stay soft. So if your hamstrings here are super tight at the moment for any reason, just take your knees a little bit further bent and then lift up. So again, if you're tight in those hip flexors at the front, that again will impede the hinge action. So again, to keep that action nice and open, keep the shoulders open. If you find it easier, just have those hands gliding down your thighs. So imagine you've got a nice stripe on your trousers. And you're going to slide your hands down that stripe. We're going to keep that width across that body. Keeping that body nice and open. And then sliding back up. So we're strengthening through that back line of the body. So again, that strength into that lower back. Keeping that space between the rib and the hips. Trying to keep that movement nice and smooth as we go down. And as we come all the way back up. Again, finding that space. So really create this space here for me. To really keep that length through that body. So really focus on what's going on here. Keep that chest lifted for me, keep it nice and open. Brilliant. And we've just got 3 more repetitions to go. We want to keep it nice and light. Keep that space between the rib and the hip going. And 1 more. Brilliant. Right, give those arms and those legs a good old shake. Right, so what we're going to do now, team, we're going to come down to the floor. So, have your blocks and your band at hand. If you need to just grab it, make sure you can grab it. Right, so we're going to come down to the floor for me. We're going to start in a nice, simple, okay, all fours position. So I want you to really get that focus on finding that space between the rib and the hip. And we want to keep that space from, obviously, rib and hip here. And I want you to really find that connection with your armpits. So we're going to just have that first focus position. So we're going to have wrists, elbows and shoulders all in a straight line, knees directly underneath hips. So first of all, let's really get that focus on our positioning and our weight distribution. So we want to have all fours, but we want to have it equally spaced between the hands and with the knees. So we're going to get that nice big deep breath in and big deep breath out. So as we're breathing out, I want you to really think about that connection with your armpits. Think about the back of your rib cage and the back of your shoulder blades staying nice and flush. So we want to really get that connection within the little finger drawing into the floor, heel of the hand, finding that connection with your arms and your armpit. Making sure that we're not shifting off to one side. And then as we're drawing those tummy muscles in, we're not changing the angle of the spine. Right, we're just going to sink it back. Just give that little connection a little rest. Pop that head down and just see and feel what your flexibility is like at the moment. Right, we're going to come back to that all fours position. So, we're going to do 4 big deep breaths in and out, really focusing on those tummy muscles, and then we'll get that stretch. So we're going to take a nice big deep breath in, really stand into those armpits, keep the abdominals nice and connected. So we're going to breathe it in and out for 4. Thinking about, are you engaging through those abdominals nice and equally? And one more. Then we're going to sink it back into that stretch. So keeping that body nice and long, nice and lengthened. Again, just really think about that stretch. Where are you tight? Then we'll come back up. So again, 4 deep breaths in, 4 deep breaths out. Really get that nice big connection through the all fours. Remember, when we're in this position, the tummy muscles will want to naturally drift towards the floor. So it's a really good position to get ourselves working our abdominals in. But also we're strength training, we're strengthening those wrists. We're challenging those muscles, so those muscles are pulling on the bones, which helps with osteoporosis. Lovely, now we're going to sink it back, get that nice big stretch. Right, so we're going to do that just one more time and then we will add on. So you want to keep that width across that body, keep that gap between the chin and the chest. Making sure we're not shoving those hands into the floor, So we have that nice space underneath the palm of the hand. And then we're going to sink it back. Nice big stretch. Lengthen it down. And then we're going to come up. Right, so first of all, just give those wrists a little wiggle jiggle. Just bend them back the opposite way. Get that nice big stretch. Right, we're going to now work into our cat pose. We're working on this shoulder stabilisation. So it's quite intense around the shoulder girdle, but that's okay. That's going to challenge our body. It also will then help keep that the chest open rather than in that rounded shoulder position at the moment. So we keep that body nice and long. We're going to take a nice big deep breath in. We're going to breathe out. We're going to draw that elbow up and in. We're going to breathe out. We're going to place it back down to the floor. We're going to take a nice big deep breath in. We're going to breathe it out. So we want to make sure that we don't rock back onto our heels. Okay, so we want to push that bottom back. You want to think about that gap between the chin and the chest. So keep that body nice and open. So getting this position is really good because it becomes a very more advanced exercise that we can do once this is really strong and stable. So sometimes we think it's going back to basics, but in actual fact this is then, if this is strong, we can then start to progress it into a different position, which then makes it a really more challenging exercise. And we're going to do one more on each side. Lovely, so let's sink it back for me. Get that nice big stretch. Again, get as low as you possibly can. I'm going to slowly roll it up. How are we doing on time? Loads of time. Right, so we're still going to continue, okay, with our movement. So we're going to get that flexibility now in that flexion and extension through that spine. So we're going to work on the cat stretch. So again, into that all fours position. Okay, we want to keep that width across that body. We're going to breathe out. We're going to tuck that bottom under, tuck that head under. And then we're going to roll it through. Now you can go back to your neutral position, or if you want to look up into that cat camel position, you can do. So the choice is yours. You just always work through a pain-free range of motion. Focus on keeping that length through that body. Trying not to round into those shoulders. Keeping that head and that neck nice and long. do that one more time. So let's just sink it back. Quick stretch. And we're going to roll it up. Brilliant. So we're going to do a kneeling position now. We're going to have one knee out in front, and then we're going to work on some rotation. So if it is too much for you, then by all means just do this in a standing lunge position. So we're going to take one leg out in front. So you want to have that knee and ankle in line, and the knee is directly underneath that hip. So if you need to put a cushion underneath your knee, do so. So we're going to come back to that torso rotation position. We're going to get that nice rotation round to the side, and then back to that centre point. We're then going to rotate round to the other side, and back to centre. And we're going to rotate round, and back to centre. Again, just right through the range of motion that is comfortable for your back. Okay? It's not about going as far as you can. We're not trying to be an L. And again, you will be tight on different sides. So it could be that your hip flexors are tight and impinging the movement. It could be that you're tight in your backs. And last one. Brilliant. So we're going to swap the legs over. Get that balance first of all, just make sure we've got good alignment. So knee and ankle are in line. Knee is in line with that hip. So make sure we've got good position. We want to keep that leg so it stays nice and in line, so it doesn't drift in and outwards. Right, we're going to start with that rotation. So we're going to rotate round and back to that centre point. We're going to rotate round to the other side, back to centre. Just try and think about that movement pattern yourself. Is one side a little bit more stable than the other? Keeping that chest nice and lifted. Keeping those shoulders down. Brilliant. Keep it strong. Okay, it's got 2 more to go. And 1 more on each side. Brilliant. So we're going to pop that knee down. Again, just sink back to your heels just for a few moments. Right, so we've done quite a bit of work on our waist today. We've done lots of work on our shoulders, okay? So what we're going to do now is we're just going to come back to a standing position. So we're going to tuck those toes under if that is comfortable for you. If it's not, just come up to a standing position the safest way possible and make sure that you're not going to bash onto those blocks, okay? So we're going to rock back onto our heels and then we're going to push up so that your feet are nice and flat. And then we're going to slowly roll all the way up to the top. Okay, so we're going to do a nice little bit of stretching across the fronts of those hips. So if you need to hold on for this, do hold on. So we're going to focus on stretching out through those quads. So holding on to something, we're going to bring that ankle up to the bottom. We're going to put those knees together. We're then going to tuck your hips forwards and get that stretch through that hip flexor. Okay, really important. Okay, we just don't want to keep getting those hips really tight. We're then going to switch it over, so if you need to hold on, hold on. If not, just bring that ankle up to the bottom. Again, just very gently tuck those hips forward. That's it, brilliant. Lovely. So again, if you need to hold on, hold on. We're then just going to bring that knee up and give it a big cuddle. And then place it down. And then the other side, bring that leg up, give it a big cuddle. It's not holding it for long. And then down. Great. So we're going to go back to our mat. We're going to take that right foot behind. We're then going to drop that weight forwards, get that nice big stretch. I want you to really focus on sending the hips forwards, then place your hands onto your thigh. Again, keeping those hips forwards and just hinging at that hip. And then we're going to take a step in and we'll do exactly the same on the other side. Make sure that you're not going to slide. So we're going to drop that weight forwards, take a little hinge. Brilliant. And take a step back in. Right, we're going to open up through those shoulders. So we're going to interlock those hands. We're going to keep the shoulders drawing down. We're going to round through that upper back. Get that nice big stretch for me. Brilliant. And then we bring those hands behind. We're going to open up through those shoulders, draw the hands down. We're going to reach it up. Just look up to that ceiling for me. Get that nice big stretch. Remember to breathe. Great. So we're going to take the arm across the body, keep the shoulder drawing down. We're going to pull it onto those forearms. So you want to either pull onto the tricep or your forearm. Never pull onto the elbow. Brilliant. And then the other side. Great. And then we're going to reach it up to the ceiling. Bring that hand coming down to touch the back of the collar and get that nice big stretch into those triceps. And then the other side. Now we're going to need to hold on for this next stretch, okay? So super important, we're going to stretch out around those hips for me. So holding on to something, we're going to bring that ankle across the opposite knee. We're then going to slide our bodies down. So you want to get that stretch coming around your bottom, okay? That's why it's important to hold on. That way you can really focus on the stretch rather than trying to worry about trying to stand upright. Okay. So this is really good if you're doing lots of walking at the moment. Really good to get that stretch around that outside of the thigh. So bring that ankle to the opposite knee. Again, just sink down to where is comfortable, keeping that width across that body. Okay, I always hold on for this stretch. It's not about trying to be a hero on this one. It's better to hold on so you can feel the stretch rather than spending the whole time worrying about whether you're going to stay upright or fall over. Okay, so it's better just to hold on. Lovely, so slide it up. Right, we're just going to do our bear hugs just to release off that upper back. So keeping those feet nice and parallel. Right, we're going to take those arms out nice and wide. And then we're just going to round through that upper back. We're trying to give ourselves a big, big cuddle. And then we're going to reach up, lift up nice and tall. And round it through, big bear hug. And then reach up, lift up nice and tall. And another big bear hug. Lift, and so we get a nice flexion through and extend it out and flex and extend, and one more time. Again, make sure you're not going to wrap those fingers around anything, and lift. And then we're going to have those feet nice and parallel for me. I'm going to take a nice big deep breath in. As we breathe out, we're going to reach it all the way down. We're going to lift it all the way up. And then we're going to come all the way down. Reach it up now. Bring those hands together. We're going to reach over to the side. Get that nice big stretch. Back to the centre. Over to the other side. Back to centre. Bring the arms down. And that is you guys done for today's session. So I hope you enjoyed today's session. I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Take care and stay nice and safe.